Greetings, heavy metal truckers here. So, in these videos, we didn't take a listen to some metal, give our thoughts and perspectives on it. It could be simple or it could be in depth. It just depends on what comes to mind. However, in this video, we are taking a review on the latest album from Venom into Oblivion. Interestingly enough, I didn't realize this album was coming out until Doppler made me look at the upcoming releases, and I saw it and I'm like, oh shit. And the reason that this album I wanted to get a hold of as far as listening to it was because for many people, or at least historical people within this aspect, this Venom was the very first black metal group in the 80s because of the album they had, literally titled Black Metal, and they were one of the first ones to introduce both satanic imagery and lyrical content within their material. But anyways, may the review commence.
Alright, well, when did I discover Venom? I wouldn't say I ever discovered them, but I've known of them for
years.
A long time. But I never listened to them. Listening to this album was actually the first time I've actually listened to them.
Oh, nice.
So going into this album, I was kind of able to go into kind of a, what is the word I'm looking for? Open mind, because I had no idea what the hell I was getting into. Not really, anyway. So first thing I noticed with this album, pretty quickly, is that it was me trying to remember what the fuck I was going to say.
Oh, okay. Do we need to make that into a shirt?
Yeah, I know. But the first thing I noticed right away was it was extremely thrashy. And anybody who knows me is I am not a thrash fan whatsoever. So that pretty quickly got a strike against it for me. At least, to start. Now, on top of that, where this album struggled, the biggest problem, more so than the thrash part that I had with this album, was the lyrics. They were,
I'm waiting for it.
Honestly, almost every song I listened to, it felt like a damn middle schooler wrote down what they sounded was cool and threw it into a damn song.
I knew you were going to see it that way.
Oh my god. And then, on top of that, several of these songs, the chorus was just the name of the title of the song over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And I never have liked songs that are like that because it feels like lazy songwriting to me. So those were two things that were really hard to get over for me. That's because it made it cringy at times for me. The guy's vocals are they're not bad. In some ways they're kind of unique in the fact that they're not full on harshes, but it's a little bit more than just basic distortion. It's like he's hugging that line between just being distorted to full on harsh.
He uses a lot of vocal compression.
Yeah, but it never quite goes into that growl either. Yeah. Which was interesting. And I could understand them. Hence why I didn't care for the lyrics, because I could tell what he was saying. Now, the one thing I did like about this album was there was some times where there were some decent grooves going on, and I liked some of the leads. But even that had an issue because there was many times that, you had those things going on, but they were buried in the mix. Like, you had to listen to hear them.
I'll be able to comment on that a little bit more.
Yeah. So that annoyed me quite a bit. Even though I was like, there's some cool stuff here, but I can't really, hear them full on. Musically heavy on the thrash, and I'm not a thrash guy. Lyrically, it was it was rough for me, for the reasons I already said. And then the one thing I did like about the album was buried. Well, not all the time, but often was buried, where you had to listen to be able to hear it. So ultimately, I was not a fan of this album. Mm-hmm. It's actually probably one of my least favorite albums we've ever covered on this channel. It did not work for me. I know a lot of people out there who are thrash fans will love this, which more power to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm happy for you, but it's just not me.
Yeah.
It's just not a band, not an album I would listen to again. And yeah, there's people who are watching this. It's your favorite band. I'm sorry, I'm bashing them, but
We say shit.
I know they've been around. I know they've been around for like. God,
have you not heard some of the harsh words
actually, over 40 years?
stated?
These guys have been around over 40 years, but anyway.
Well,
yeah, because they started, I think, in the late 70s or something. Anyway,
they've been around for a very long time.
Yeah. So with all that being said, I gave this album 1.75.
Damn.
Yeah. And if it hadn't been for some of those leads and stuff, it probably would have been lower than that.
I didn't mean to burst out like that, but I'm sorry. That was funny.
No, you're fine.
For you, sir?
As per usual, I was introduced to this band on this channel for this album.
Had you ever even heard of them before?
Nope.
Didn't think so.
I thought Venom was a Marvel character.
Copycat.
Well, I mean,
Hey.
I'm messing. I'm kidding.
Technically. Anyway. Close.
Guy backing inside you, I assume.
Yeah.
Wait till
Nice and snug.
Wait till one day I back beside
All right.
you and you're gonna really clench your ass.
Probably. Anyway, I agree with Doppler. This was definitely thrash, and I'm not a thrash guy. I started listening to it the other day. I got through like the first 30 seconds of it and I turned it off. And at the time, I thought it was mostly just because it was like, I just wasn't feeling like listening to music at the time. But then I listened to it in its entirety earlier today. And no, it was, I just didn't want to listen to it. For me, I'm gonna go like what Doppler says with metalcore. It literally sounded like the exact same song on repeat through the entirety of the album. Not much variation to me, and I could have sworn razor blades were being stabbed through my ears at one point. But I don't know. I honestly really did not enjoy this album at all. Probably, again, like Doppler said, my least favorite album that we have reviewed on this channel. Yeah, I really don't know what else I could say. So my rating on it is a 1. And please, no more Venom. I'm sorry for those of you who enjoy.
You have a choice.
But for me, I could not.
You have two choices.
Oh, God.
The next Venom single or the next VOB request.
Fuck you. Neither.
Fair enough. Okay, before...
Neither. I'm going to call in sick that day.
So, I'm very curious on something before I even get started on my part. Because at this point, I'm extremely curious. Would you... Because I have a feeling that whenever we listen to albums or whatever the case may be, and we don't talk about it till these very moments... Did you guys have an idea of what my perspective of this album would be?
Oh, I knew you were going to enjoy it more than say, I did, because you're more of a thrash person than I am.
Fair. Oh. I'm assuming Frosty felt the same. Okay. So
I mostly don't think about those things. I kind of focus on what I'm going to or supposed to say when I listen to albums.
Okay.
With this one, I didn't have that thought process. My whole thought process was please turn off.
So here's the funny thing. Doppler and I tend to kind of almost immediately consider what the other people will think or perceive of the albums. We've always done this. Even whenever it was just the two of us, it was kind of something we always did. We're always like...
I have some of that sometimes. It's not always. But I can kind of get an idea for both of you.
Doppler can correct me, but I think it happens almost every single fucking time we listen to an album. We think of what the other one's going to think.
Yeah, usually.
But then again, we've been doing this for roughly 2 years, and we were doing this before, back whenever we worked at one of our previous employers. We considered that. But all that being stated, my introduction to Venom, interestingly enough, was through a documentary. A little ditty I like to call Black Metal Satanica, which is what got me into black metal to begin with. And it spoke of the origins of who was actually the first black metal group. And of course, there is the there was like the debatable argument between Bathory or Venom. Because Venom, because I just looked it up, literally their second album was called Black Metal. Their first album was called Welcome to Hell. And so many believe that Venom was the proto black metal and that everyone else kind of followed suit. Of course, there was the years of which stuff actually released, so there could have been just coincidences along that timeline. I don't recall entirely at this very moment, so I'm not going to speak on that. But I had heard of Venom through that documentary, and so that's whenever I started listening to them, and I'm like, holy shit, they are just a heavier Motorhead with satanic lyrics, or satanic style lyrics of like the late 80s. So, interesting. So, I've known about them for a long time. And I've occasionally gone back and listened to them just because, why not? It's an old school black metal, so I dig it. So, went into this album, and the very first thing I realized was, oh my god, a group finally released an album where they had extremely old school, rudimentary mixing techniques and recording techniques, it sounded like. Because this thing sounded like a glorified 80s record. And I loved every goddamn minute of it. Because I am someone that I want to hear the rawest form of a group, mostly probably just because, again, I am a black metal enthusiast. Even though these days I'm listening to mostly classical, but that's just because just from doing this for so long, I get moments where it's just like, I want to listen to just something off the wall. So I'll go with like my classical stuff or just my general ambient melancholy.
Well, you're also an audio tech, and audio techs prefer the raw materials most of the time.
We can, but I'm not going to speak for every one of them because we are all different in that sense. But generally, yes. So I was listening to this and I'm just loving the fact that I'm like, oh my god, that kick drum isn't a kick drum, it's actually a bass drum. When's the last time I've heard that shit? Long fucking time. So majority
Middle
of this,
school.
actually before then, well, I mean, I was listening to classics, but honestly, so growing up, what got me into guitar and it just got me into the whole rock scene and everything, hard rock scene, was my father was and pretty much still is to this day an old school hard rock metal drummer. I used to attend their practices where it was just the rawest form you could potentially hear of people in their garage or basement, and they're just going to town, and it was what I knew. It was what I understood to be the rock and metal world. And so any kind of overproduction, I feel, is a stripping of the natural talent. And so I guess you can see, you can blame my father for this. So yeah. But it's what I grew to love, and what I grew to understand is this is what anarchy rock adversary is. It is just the rawest form of everything. And there's many groups that still do that will do this to this day, but not nearly as much as there used to be. That all being said, I'm not normally someone that fully listens on to what the lyrical content is, just because I'm more focused in the vocal style that is being done and how it's being done, just again, from a mixing perspective. But I was enjoying the way the Kronos did everything. And a lot of this just felt like old school heavy metal just cranked to 11 with the way they conducted everything, and it was so fucking cool to me. Up until Live Loud, because after Live Loud, it got a little bit more modern and a little bit more groovier. But I will say, did anyone catch the kind of cover that they did?
What do you mean?
Nevermore? That was Edgar Allan Poe.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's...
Well,
yeah.
I know Nevermore
I'm
from
sitting
Edgar Allan Poe.
I'm sitting there thinking you're talking like they covered a song.
Oh, yeah, no. Okay, so that wordage may have been off for me, so my apologies about that. But I was listening to it and hearing them talk about Lenore and Nevermore, and I'm like, are they literally making a metal version of the poem? Holy shit, they are. And I caught it on the second listen through, and I'm like, this is really fucking cool. I've never heard someone do something like this. It's a lie. Omnia did it, and I don't remember what the track was. I think they call it The Raven, and it was basically them instrumentally conducting Nevermore, Well, Venom did it, and I was thoroughly impressed with how they conducted that, because I'm like, that was actually very well done. I'm impressed. But Metal Bloody Metal, once that started, that was very much going into the more modern aspect of like a groove metal aspect. And this continued until Death Witch. And it was very interesting how they kind of, they didn't necessarily drop the old school heavy metal, but they just kind of kicked it up and made it hit a little harder. Which one of the things that I absolutely loved about this was how present the bass was. Mind you, I'm listening to all this in my car, and so I'm very clearly able to hear everything, which unfortunately I know headsets are, especially for old school mixes like this was, headsets are going to make this not shine the way it should as far as being able to grasp what they were doing production-wise. But then again, this was very old school, very rudimentary production, which I greatly enjoyed. But then again, that's just because I'm fucking weird. But regardless, I listened to this album, I don't know how many times, I lost count, because I was enjoying every minute of it. And it's just, again, it was me going back to the old days of like listening to my father and his groups that were playing basically in a shed, and they were just jamming out, having a great time. And maybe it's a little bit nostalgia for me, but I loved this album so much, I'm actually considering getting it. So I actually rated this album 4.5, mainly because it wasn't necessarily the fact that I was fully listening to the lyrics, it was how everything was done. And this is something that I could easily see myself putting on just a jam to, or even just having a conversation and chilling with someone that didn't mind what was going on in the background, just putting this on and having a good time. That just was what this was to me.
Now, I will say one thing. I hate to interrupt you.
No. You're fine. I interrupt you all the time.
Oh, shit. Hold on.
Yeah.
I'm throwing shit everywhere. Hold on. Oh, my God.
Shit, we went
foot got tangled. Okay.
Ow,
Now,
that hurt.
it's funny you say that. It's funny you say that, because when I was listening to this, even though I wasn't enjoying it, I'm like, this, I can tell just by listening to it, this would be a million times better live than it is sitting here listening to on the album.
So much
because of what type of music it is. Mm-hmm. Like, I could sit, like, you can, even listening to it, you can picture in your head like everybody going nuts in a mosh pit, listening to it. But
exactly,
yeah.
like,
anyway,
no, it's correct, because Doppler, you and I have been to shows where it's just like there's that one dude with the really fucking long ass hair that's just worse than watching, enjoying, and this dude's going maniacal on it, just enjoying his time. And I'm like, this is what this album is. This is.
It is. I will agree with that. It's just, it's not for me in any way, shape, or form. But I will agree.
And that's understandable. Honestly, I didn't think either. I kind of thought, Doppler, you might enjoy it for more the older school aspect, but I did think that the thrash aspect would throw you off.
If the lyrics hadn't been so darn cheesy to me, I might have enjoyed it a little more.
And again, Venom,
you knew straight away I wasn't gonna like it.
Oh, I knew straight away. After I listened to it, I'm like, he might get to the second track and call it done.
I wanted to, but I pushed past it because I'm supposed to.
You basically did what I did with the Amity Affliction.
Yeah. This is your payback, I guess.
Fair enough. But yeah, guys, so if you've listened to this album, what did you think? And if you haven't listened to it, listen and either suffer or enjoy the same way we did. But until next time, whether musically, lyrically, or literally, keep rolling heavy.